start early.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay. 2 more minutes of music, guys.
Oh yeah, 2 more minutes.
Thank you to our beautiful musicians, especially Hollywood. Hollywood in the game.
The bell.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
forget the bell.
Yeah.
And Hollywood.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola. If you didn't know, or if this is your first time here, our mission is to celebrate diversity, strive for justice, and inspire love. We welcome all people, young and old, families and singles. We embrace varying spiritual, religious, and philosophical beliefs. We welcome all colors, cultures, abilities, genders, and sexual orientations of the family. We believe that we are enriched by the diversity of our community. So if you're not down with that, you can go right now. All right, cool. All right, well, welcome here. My name is Scott Satterwhite, to go by the pronouns he, him, and I will be your service leader today. So, we'll go ahead and start. So we have a few announcements for you. So first off, I wanted to let you know that our speaker, Joan Braune, who I'll introduce a little bit more later on, is going to stick around after the service to answer any questions. She's going to be going over some pretty heady topics, so I think it'll be worth your time. But it's going to happen like almost right away. So if after the service, go to the bathroom, get a cup of coffee, or get a cup of cake too. You know, I see some really pretty cake out there. Looks like a carrot cake. So get some of that, but then come right back in here because we're going to start right away. And that'll be a good Q&A session that'll go on afterwards. On today, also, there's another second hour that's taking place in the library after the service for our monthly out-of-the-box circle of story, reflection, and dialogue. So see Claire, raise your hand. All right. See Claire for any questions that you have. Okay. Also, I mentioned too, Joan and me and Lauren are going to take Joan out to lunch over at Vallarta's, that Mexican restaurant that we went to as a church a couple weeks ago. So if any of y'all want to come afterwards, you're free to join us. We'd love to have you. All right, speaking of lunch, Hugh has passed on an invite for the lunch bunch on Tuesday the 12th. That's this coming Tuesday at Karen's on North Pace at 1 p.m. If you have any questions, see Hugh. Hugh is back there right there. And I am really looking forward to seeing Hugh's write-up in the monthly newsletter. It's by far the highlight of the paper. No shade on anyone else's writing in there, but it's worth the time. The Stamp Film Festival is starting on August 14th. It's going the 14th through the 17th, and it's at the center, which is where the Pensacola Little Theater is, the Cultural Arts Center, downtown, 400 South Jefferson Street. If you don't know, Stamp Film Festival is an LGBTQ-centric film festival. It's been going on for a number of years. They have short films, a few feature films, and it's just a really great event. So we'd love to have you all come out to that. It's free. As well. There'll probably be snacks and all those kind of things. And Sunday, the last day of the festival is Children's Day, so children, young adult, and it's a pretty good one to go to. So not only will they have kids' activities and all those things, but they also have a lot of good films, teens, and everything else. So it's pretty good. All right, so you should go. Next Sunday, the 17th, is Games and Casseroles Day. Nice combo. Directly after service, we will have food in the conference room, then come back to the sanctuary to eat and play games. If you're able, please stay after service today to help set up the sanctuary. See Mary Beth for details. And next, this one's a little lengthy, so I'll see if I can abbreviate it. The Speak Truth to Power campaign at public forums. Will you speak out now? Speak the Truth to Power join the Speak to Truth to Power campaign being organized by 50501-5051, Pensacola, Florida. And what they're doing, if I understand it right, and feel free to correct me, is they're going up to the public forums. We have public forums in the city council and in the county commission, and we're going up there and telling the people what's wrong. Keep in mind, all this will be recorded, but you're probably being recorded everywhere. So this will be one more place you're recorded. But nonetheless, the dates are, I'll just give you a couple of them. Thursday, okay, there's a lot of dates up here. So if you want to check out the dates for it, then you come up here and see this. Or you can also ask Laura Keith King as well. Are you a good contact? Okay, good. And speaking of 50501-5051, the Workers Over Billionaires protest and rally is coming up, and it's on September 1st. You might have seen a flyer out there in the window when you come in, door when you come in. It's on Monday, September 1st. The date has changed. It was on Saturday, August 30th, and now it's September 1st, Monday, September 1st. And it goes from 9 to noon, and it's at Seville Square. It's 311 East Government Street. Not the bar, but the little plaza that's about down the way from there. All right. Any other announcements I forget? All right, cool. All right. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, we have a Not a Yard sale that's going on right now. So if you didn't go last week, you can go this week. We got some pretty cool things. It's a pretty cool setup, too. There's a lot of stuff that's out in the room where we normally have coffee. That's why we have all the coffee and snacks out here. But pretty cool stuff. I've gone through it a little bit and seen some things. We picked up some things last time we were here. And you named the price, so it's all as a fundraiser for the church. I think probably everybody wants to get everything out of the church too. So whatever that price is good, but also keep in mind that it's all going to the church. So be as generous as you can, but I think we all know these are hard times for everyone. So whatever you can afford would be really appreciated. All right. Okay, so any others? All right, cool. All right, so now we can begin our 8 principles video.
The Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola, the 8 Principles.
Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relation.
Number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation.
Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregation and in society at large.
Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
Number 7, respect for the interdependent web of existence,
of which we are all a part.
Number 8, active commitment to dismantle racism and other oppression in ourselves and our institutions.
All right, I already did our chalice lighting, so there it is. I skipped ahead on my script, but pretend I just lit it and you saw it. The opening words for today are from Bell Hooks. To be truly visionary, we have to root our imagination in our concrete reality, while simultaneously imagining possibilities beyond that reality. And that's Bell Hooks from Feminism is for Everybody. And now, our opening hymn. If I can invite our incredibly awesome choir up here. You can sing this song, or this is my song, and it's number 159 in the gray hymnal. If you'd like to stand up if you can, if you want to. You're willing and able. Again, it's This Is My Song, number 159. And if you could remain standing as we recite our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. You may be seated. You know, we're really fortunate to have such an amazing choir. It's nice if you get to come in here early and, yeah. Yeah, and the band, you know, the whole thing. You know, some really beautiful music was playing right before we came in, and if you were able to come in a little bit early, even be able to hear the choir practice was really sweet. Yeah, so good job. Yeah. All right, so now we have the joys and concerns. Now, with our joys and concerns, there's a lot of things going on in the world, of course, you know, so we'll light our first candle for all those concerns that are taking place in the world. But for all of our other concerns that we have, because I'm sure that we have our other concerns, why don't you come up here and share them with us, if you like.
Yes, sir.
Right, and now is time for all ages. We have a little video here. It's by T. Bui. If you don't know T. Bui, she is a Vietnamese immigrant who wrote a really good graphic novel. I used to teach her in one of my classes. But anyway, there's a little book that she did for the kids.
Welcome to Read Aloud with Mr. Paul. I'm so glad you could be here. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss a single story.
Today we'll be reading A Different Pond, written by Bao Fei, illustrated by T. Bowie. A Different Pond, written by Bao Fei, illustrated by T. Bowie. Dad wakes me quietly so Mom can keep sleeping. It will be hours before the sun comes up. In the kitchen, the bare bulb is burning. Dad has been up for a while, making sandwiches and packing the car. Can I help? I ask. Sure, my dad whispers and hands me the tackle box. The street lights look brighter, and the roads aren't so busy before the sun comes up. Dad turns on the heater and tells me stories. A kid at school said my dad's English sounds like a thick, dirty river. But to me, his English sounds like gentle rain. We stop at the bait store on Lake Street. It always seems to be open. You're here early today, the bait man says. I got a second job, my dad explains. I have to work this morning. On a Saturday? The bait man asks. My dad nods. I feel the bag of minnows move. They swim like silver arrows in my hands. It's still dark when we get to the pond. We park the car and climb over the divider between the road and the trees. My dad holds my hand and walks ahead through the tangle and scrub. Step where I step, he says. I am thinking about what Dad told the bait man. If you got another job, why do we still have to fish for food? I ask. Everything in America costs a lot of money, he explains. I feel calluses on his hand when he squeezes mine. Sometimes, a Hmong man is at the pond. He speaks English like my dad and likes to tell funny jokes. Sometimes there is a black man there too. He shows me his colorful lure collection. This time, it is just me and my dad. It is a little bit cold. I rub my hands together. Yawn. And look up to see faint stars like freckles. As Dad sets up in a clearing, I gather small, thin twigs for a fire. They need to be dry and clean. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 10 more for later. I put some rocks in a circle and set up the twigs. Like a volcano, Dad reminds me. I set one end of each twig down, the other up, leaning them in so they rest against each other and hold each other up. I get it to light with just one match. Dad nods. You want to put a minnow on the hook? Dad asks. I want to help, but I shake my head no. I don't want to hurt that little fish, even if I know it's about to be eaten by a bigger one. My dad smiles. He isn't upset with me. Dad hands me a sandwich, cold bologna between 2 pieces of bread. Careful of the spicy stuff, he says. There's half a peppercorn, like a moon split in 2, studded into the meat. I used to fish by a pond like this one when I was a boy in Vietnam, Dad says, biting into his sandwich. With your brother? I ask. He nods, then looks away. Dad tells me about the war, but only sometimes. He and his brother fought side by side. One day, his brother didn't come home. The bobber dips in the dark and Dad pulls. "Got one," he says, almost shouting. "A crappie, and soon another." "Can I help?" I ask. He nods, and I use 2 hands to help guide the fish into the bucket. The fish feels slimy and rough at the same time. Dad laughs at the funny face I make. Dad smiles, his teeth broken and white in the dark, because we have a few fish, and he knows we will eat tonight. Time to go home. Dad must get ready for work. He washes his hands with a small nub of green and white soap. Then I do the same. I look at the trees as we walk back to the car. I wonder what the trees look like at that other pond, in the country my dad comes from. By the time we get home, the sunlight coming through the windows is just a faint tint, blue and gray, instead of gold. At home, Mom looks tired, but she smiles at the fish in the big white bucket. My dad changes his clothes and gets ready to go to work. He pats me on the back and says to Mom, "Our boy did a good job with the fire today." "You learn so quickly," Mom says. Then she asks me to help with the fish before she has to go to work too. I'm sad that she and Dad must leave, but not too sad. I know that later on they will both come home. "Look after your baby brother," Mom reminds my brothers and sisters. She means me. Then she gets on her bike and goes to work. I am not a baby, I think to myself. I helped catch dinner. Tonight, when we are all home, Dad will put rice in the cooker, and Mom will fry the fish on both sides until they are crispy. I will bring out the jar of fish sauce that has flecks of chili pepper and carrots floating on top. At the table, my brothers and sisters will tell funny stories. Mom will ask about their homework. Dad will nod and smile and eat with his eyes half closed. "Good fish," he will say to me. And I will smile and nod, and later, when we sleep, we will dream of fish in faraway ponds.
Thank you so much for joining me for Read Aloud with Mr. Paul. Until next time, discover the wonder in a book. Pick one up. Take a look.
For more evocative stories.
All right. Yeah, it's a good story. So now we're going to sing the kids out. 1, 2, 3. And now we have the offertory. So our incredibly amazing volunteers who pass around the basket are going to pass around the basket right now. As you know, our church is lay-led, and it's also everything here, from the lights to all the things that fund this church, all come from what comes into these baskets. So if you want to be as generous as you can, that would be amazing. A lot of people go online and do this. A lot of people will make their pledges online. So if you don't see, some folks putting their stuff in there, that's why, but again, we appreciate any donations that y'all can make. right, thank you much. All right, so now it is my incredible honor to bring up my friend Joan Braune, Dr. Joan Braune. Dr. Braune, I met when Dr. Braune was 14, I think, before Dr. Braune was Dr. Braune. She was here with her father, who actually spoke over here several years ago. Her father was a philosophy professor over at PJC, Pensacola Junior College, here for a year. A really great guy. Was pretty active in the protest movements right after 9/11. And this is where I first met Joan. Joan put together a zine, a small magazine newsletter kind of thing, called the Cause, the Socialist Teen Zine. And I thought it was really cool. There's this 14-year-old who's out with the politics and putting it all out there. And what I found even cooler is that she kept with it. 14-year-old Joan is pretty cool. I don't know how old you are, but Joan right now. So. Joan has written a book that some of us in a book club have read recently. It's called Understanding and Countering Fascist Movements. I get the title right? Okay. Understanding and Countering Fascist Movements. And Joan has flown all the way from Spokane, Washington, where she teaches over at Gonzaga University, to come and talk with us about democracy.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just such a joy and an honor to be back. So I lived here in 2001 to 2002, and my parents, Nick and Linda Braune, had briefly moved out here, and from South Dakota, so this was quite a switch. And I ended up going to Pensacola School of Liberal Arts, which I heard now it has a reputation for being, fancy. But at my time, it was a school for kids who were weird. So I was looking for a place where we could be kind of rebellious and critical of society. And I don't know how long you all have known Scott, but he was like super cool. He still is. But I was just so impressed when I got here that Pensacola had an anarchist bookstore and coffee shop, and Scott was involved in all this cool stuff. And so I arrived here just at the time, just right before 9/11. And so coming back here for the past day or two, I've just really been thinking a lot about what has changed and what has not changed. Because at that time, I and my family, coming from this kind of leftist activist family, we were all super concerned about fascism, about the Patriot Act, surveillance, militarism. It was just a very scary time where it seemed like almost anything could be justified in the name of fighting terrorism after 9/11. So I had a lot of fears at that time about fascism, totalitarianism, and now I think we're facing a new challenge and also some of the same challenges. So I just want to kind of think through a little bit of that with you. So here, there we are. Yep, that's me, Joan Braune, she, her. That's my email up there, my website, such as it is. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk more. And when I got to Spokane, Washington, where I now work, have any of you been to Washington State? So how about eastern side of Washington State? Nice, okay. So there's a difference between Seattle and Spokane, Washington. We're on the eastern side. I did not know that when I moved up there. And people told me before I got this job up there, they're like, oh, I bet you're gonna love it because it's just gonna be all like vegans on bicycles, protesting war. Like there'll just be independent music going on all day long. And then I got to Spokane and It was not exactly that. There was a little bit of that, but there were also Nazis. Now, there are also Nazis in Seattle, too, to be clear, actually. There's no, special safe place in America where there's nothing bad. But I was surprised to learn about the history of far-right organizing and white supremacist organizing in Spokane, Washington, and that whole region. So when I got up there, it was 2016, Trump was getting elected, and I started giving talks in the community about the ideology of Steve Bannon. If you remember Bannon, he was still around, but very influential in the first Trump administration, because I noticed parallels between his ideology and fascism, which was it overlapped with my dissertation research in grad school. So I started giving talks in Spokane area about, we have to be careful of fascism. Well, I'll define fascism kind of in a minute. We have to be careful of fascism, Steve Bannon's in power, et cetera. And people would come up to me after these talks, and they were like, do you know, where you are in the history of this place, and decades of resistance against the Aryan Nations compound next door in North Idaho. And people started telling about far-right organizing in Spokane area, still to this day, where you have militia groups and pastors who are guarded by Christian nationalist militias and Proud Boys and white nationalist groups. So I started to learn a lot and do a lot of activism also in the community around resisting these organizations in 2016, 2017. And then since that time, this has become my research and my activism and my focus in my scholarship and in my community activism as I focus on trying to figure out how to fight fascism, how to fight fascist organizations, far-right, and white supremacist groups. So I'll share a little bit about that. Okay, so we're already on the next slide. That's perfect timing, excellent. So I want to clarify, if we're talking about fascism, we can mean that in three different senses. So the first would be, how am I doing, by the way? Am I echoing? Oh, thanks, cool, okay, all right. So there may be three meanings when people say something is fascist. So I've primarily focused my research on number 2 out of the 3, and I can talk about that, but I think right now I'm having to think more about 1, right? So there's a whole kind of debate in political science and that whole space, how do you determine when a country has become fascist? What are the stages of development toward fascism? Scott did a lovely little zine you've got some copies out there by Timothy Snyder, who's one of the kinds of people that kind of tracks that stuff. So when has a country been taken over by fascism? Secondly, there's the question of sort of people who actually identify as fascists, who have that ideology, who belong to movements and organizations committed to fascism. And that's been primarily what I've been looking at for the past 8 or 9 years because of what I've seen in Spokane, Washington, and because of what I was tracking. And then a third meaning would be an individual or group that may speak or behave in a way that is fascistic. So what I mean by that is I'm not going to tell people they're wrong when they say, a police officer attacking an innocent person, ICE arresting people. ICE is pretty much connected to number 1, right? But when we have practices of fascism, right? Racist policing, militarization of communities, intimidation of people, anti-trans policy, any of these things, right? You can say something is fascist without having to do some sort of proof, this is done by somebody who identifies with fascist ideology in group 2, or being done under a specifically fascist rule in the case of 1. So if somebody's stop the fascist border patrol at a protest, I'm not saying that's incorrect, right? So there are different kind of levels and meanings when we talk about this. Okay. Next slide. So if we're talking about fascism as an ideology, fascism as a movement, I'm not going to get into a whole thing about debates around definitions. That stuff is super fraught. But in my opinion, these are
some of the core things you'll find, core beliefs, that people are naturally unequal, and that social hierarchy is good and should be enforced according to things like race, gender, disability, and so on. And the belief is that there is a natural hierarchy and that the people who are better and higher in the hierarchy should have more power, right? So it's pretty basic, but that is core to their belief system. Violence is seen as a good in itself, not just a tool. So humanity is seen as sort of naturally warlike and violent, and war and violence are exalted. There's a use of scapegoating, of blaming particular groups of people for what's going wrong in the world, and conspiracy theories often about those groups, anti-Semitism being a really common form that conspiracy theory takes. Contempt for democracy and for reason, for rationality. A belief that the fascist is sort of above both law and truth, or a maker of truth and a maker of law, not subject to law, not subject to being disproven. And a belief that history moves in cycles. And so part of that is a belief that you have to instigate catastrophes and crises to kind of reset history. So fascism believes that we are kind of in a fallen or dark age, and that to reset back to the hierarchy that they believe has been lost, there needs to be this kind of apocalyptic conflict. So there's a lot of talk of war and violence as a means to reset history, to reset the world. So when fascist movements get into power, which I would argue has happened now in this country, these are some of the things you're going to see. And a lot of this, by the way, comes out of a German Nazi philosopher named Carl Schmitt. So Carl Schmitt was sort of the chief legal theorist, legal philosopher for the Nazis, and Schmitt talked about what he called the state of exception. So according to Schmitt, what you want to do is you want to have a sovereign, a leader, whose power is unchecked, who exists above the law, and the role of the sovereign is to establish who the friend is and who the enemy is, who the us is, who the them is. And after making this friend-enemy distinction, the us versus the them, the leader, the sovereign, is then able to declare what he calls the state of exception. And the state of exception basically means you declare an emergency. You declare that we are now in a time where law can't be practiced in the normal way. All right. So you can think this is not obviously the first time in American history that we've been dealing with this. There have been many people who have been subjected to states of exception at particular points in time. Certainly Black and Indigenous people have been under states of exception. And if you look at the history of states of exception, there have also been times we might say, yeah, reasonably there are particular situations, like under COVID, where you might need to have some regulations that are a little different. But the purpose here is to declare a state of emergency where law can be circumvented, and where the police, the military, paramilitary forces can act with impunity. Can you actually flip back? Just for a second, I forgot what I was doing. Okay, yeah, no, I'm good. You're good. Sorry, go for it. Oh yeah, so the last thing there, so one of the things we're going to hear more about, I think, in the coming months, weeks, years, is this idea of the unification of executive power. This also comes out of Schmitt, but it's been kind of a slogan, kind of a thing we're hearing out of the Trump administration. How many of you have heard of Project 2025? Yeah. Yes. So this was one of the agendas created for the Trump administration by the Heritage Foundation and a number of other organizations, a lot of Christian nationalist and hardcore capitalist groups came together and created this agenda, this 900-page document about what the Trump administration should do. And a key theme of Project 2025 is the unification of executive power. And that's a term that comes out of Carl Schmitt as well. So when we see mass firings of people in civil government roles, shutdown of whole agencies, attempts to shut down Department of Education, basically the replacement of anyone from, whether it's military or whether it's people checking our food to see if it's poisoned, or people, whatever the thing is, filling those roles only with people who are completely loyal to the sovereign, so that there can be this kind of complete consolidation of sovereign power in the hands of the president. And that also means, in the case of the Trump administration, you have to fire a lot of people, and you might have to shut down whole agencies to get that unification of executive power. Just a creepy quote. He who saves his country does not violate. He who saves his country does not violate any law. I think it actually comes from Napoleon. There was actually apparently a white supremacist who was like trying to get this to trend. You'd be amazed, maybe not. Some of you might be amazed how many things are tweeted out by Trump, the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, etc., that have been sort of memed into existence from like neo-Nazi groups, like tweeting things at people long enough that particular slogans get escalated up the chain. And this would be one that happened in that way. But it's quite significant, and there are plenty of people in the Trump administration who have this, this ideology that the president needs to have this total executive power above the law. And it's very much Schmitt, Carl Schmitt. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, and I think maybe I might have scared Scott that I was going to give too much of an academic talk when he was clicking through these, because this one has a long list of words that probably can't even be read from the back. But I just want to sort of say with this, as I think you all know, but just to kind of play it, just kind of put it on the table. So Trump as an individual, I don't care too much, like what his belief system is. Like, he's obviously a bully, he's obviously bigoted, he's obviously extremely self-interested and narcissistic, right? He may or may not have much of an ideology beyond that. But he's surrounded by people who do, right? So like, I don't think Trump reads. He may have read Mein Kampf once, but he's not like Steve Bannon, who's got like piles of books on like Mussolini and stuff, right? But he's surrounded by people who are ideologues in that sense, who do read, who do have belief systems, who have powerful international networks. And among them, we have people who are Christian nationalists, like Pete Hegseth, for example, who's a member of a group that's based in North Idaho that believes women should not vote and should stay home, and America should be run only by Christians. And you have white nationalists like Stephen Miller, who are pushing these immigration policies because they want America to be white. And you have all kinds of weird stuff coming out of Silicon Valley. Little projects to create perfect little towns outside of the regulations of society. Lately I'm hearing this term TESCREAL. And if anybody wants this list in larger font, I can get it for you. It's a terrifying list of terms. If you're not familiar with them, it looks a little overwhelming. Transhumanism, extropianism, singularitarianism, cosmism, rationalism, effective altruism, and long-termism. But these are basically all the same thing. These are little culty little groups in Silicon Valley that have a vision of how to create a perfect utopian society in the future through eugenics. And they have in their utopian vision, people will merge with machines and be immortal, and have these perfect genes. So they're trying to get They push women to stay home and have lots and lots and lots of babies. They are experimenting with AI. They know that getting to the utopian vision they have will involve only some people having access to these particular kinds of technologies, and they're fine with that, right? So they're kind of envisioning a collapse and rebirth of the world into this like new technological order. Okay. So, I'm out of time, but I'm going to run kind of fast here because I've made everyone depressed, and I promised I would end with action items. So what do? I think earlier in the Trump administration, when everything was moving super fast, and it was harder to predict where things were going, we thought, a lot of us that study this stuff and talk about this stuff, and you may have heard this or thought this, we thought the state of exception is coming, and it's going to be like announced, and so we have to like be preparing behind the scenes, because pretty soon Trump is just going to be like, hey, no laws anymore, I have total power. That could still happen, but next slide. I think what's happening is a kind of creeping state of exception, where we're seeing an expansion of areas in which power is being consolidated, checks on presidential power are being shut down, legal rulings are just being gone around, right? And so there may or may not ever be some kind of announcement, like, hi everyone, today we're canceling the elections and the police are coming to your home, and right? So we can't be waiting for that moment, preparing to just kind of all resist en masse when it happens. We have to be kind of building our capacity to resist now. So just a few things here real quick. I think thinking about where you have a niche that you can plug in, because it gets very, very overwhelming to see everything on fire. So whether it's, healthcare or advocating for children or advocating for schools or prison reform or nonviolence and war, right? You have to kind of pick a little bit of a focus and think about who is in your circles, because everyone belongs to a number of different subcultures, whether it's your faith community, your gardening club, your interest in video games, like whatever it is, there are people you have access to communicating with. And thinking about those spaces, and can we make those spaces less accessible to far-right ideology? What kinds of commitments can we make in those spaces? How can we educate each other in those spaces and make them less vulnerable to the spread of this, right? And more able to resist. Okay. That might be my cue. So thank you, and I'd love to hang around and chat. I don't think we're doomed. I really don't. And there have been times in history that have been bad, like this in other countries where people have effectively resisted. But I also think we can't afford to just hang out and hope it gets better and wait for the election. So thank you all. Appreciate you. Thanks.
Thanks again, Joan. And just as a reminder, Joan will be right back here in this room to answer any questions or to go into more detail right after the service. So if I can invite the choir up here. And while the choir is getting up here, I'll also mention that Joan is speaking over at the Liberation Center on Monday at 6 o'clock, if y'all want to go to that, and also at Strive, which meets at Black Cafe and Books, probably at the same time on Wednesday, too. But for now, sing We Are a Gentle, Angry People, number 170 in the Gray Book. Who would like to stand, please? If you're willing and able.
We are a gentle, angry people.
Thank you. That was great. Our closing words. Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. That's Coretta Scott King. So go now in peace, friends. And also, we're not setting up the tables in here afterwards. We'll do that at a different time. Okay. So. All right. But go in peace still.